You're the youngest mayor of the city. That's very interesting in and of itself. But you're not only the youngest mayor of Cape Town. Cape Town is the most trusted city in South Africa, and it's been voted the best city in the world for a number of on a number of occasions. So, how does that all pan out? A 34-year-old in your position.
That is a great place to start. Firstly, it's a pleasure to join you, and thank you for the invitation. I am first and foremost a father of a 6-year-old beautiful little girl who really is the light of my life. And as a parent in South Africa over the last few years, one has had a lot of cause for concern and anxiety about the direction and trajectory of our society and what the future holds. And so I thought that one of the most important things that I could do with my time and with my life, I'm deeply motivated by deriving a personal sense of meaning, that what I do has some kind of impact in the world, not just for its own sake. So I thought that one of the most meaningful things that I could do was make sure that there is one place in South Africa, in our country, that really generates a sense of hopefulness and optimism about the future. That our country can make progress, we can move ever closer to the kind of society sketched out in our constitution, which is this really inclusive society of shared prosperity, where we defeat the demons of our past and make progress together. And so I thought Cape Town is the best place to do that. It has all of the right ingredients. It has amazing, talented people, this young, innovative business community. It's obviously a really cool place to live. It's the envy of the world in terms of places to visit. And so it's a great place to run for office, and so that's what I decided to do here. I think the platform is best laid here.
So, at the ripe old age of 34, to have the position that you do implies that some key people, have trusted you along the way.
Yeah.
How has that trust come to be? How have you developed that trust? Has it been earned or bestowed? Is it chance?
I have no doubt that there's an element of right place, right time in every single person's story of success. By the way, I think in my job, I get to meet a lot of successful people, and I often chuckle to myself how they are quick to take all the credit for their success. I think sometimes luck does play a greater role than we like to think. But I've had a few simple philosophies that I think have helped me along the way, in addition to luck and providence. And I think that is to take opportunities with both hands when they come around. So I remember clearly about 15 years ago, I did one of these kind of self-improvement classes, and the facilitator asked us to write out a 10-year and a 20-year career progression. And I've always been a little bit skeptical of those kind of things, because my approach has always been, take the opportunity that is in front of you now, do the absolute best that you possibly can, and work really hard at it and prove yourself. And in the doing, the next opportunity will come about. And the skill really is to have the good sense to know when that opportunity comes about and to grab it with both hands. So I have quite an adventurous view of things. I think that life is exciting, and it should be grabbed with both hands, and you should not be afraid of failing. Failing is really part of the adventure that is life. So long as you are doing so while doing your absolute best and trying to derive that sense of meaning that I spoke about, then you'll be fine. The other thing is, I think, just be straight up with people, be honest, and I think if you have a reputation for meaning what you say and saying what you mean, then people will come to trust you over time. And similarly, if you don't do that, then that will quickly become a negative brand association with your, personally for you, and that will be very harmful.
What do you do when people have a low propensity to trust you in particular, or to trust your type? So a politician or a mayor or whatever appellation is thrown in your direction. What do you do when one tends not to want to trust you? How do you work through that?
So I'm naturally a people's person, which is probably not a surprise. So I genuinely love spending time with people, particularly one-on-one, getting really into interesting and in-depth conversations, even if I disagree with them quite fundamentally. So that's just a personal enjoyment of mine. So my go-to is always to try and have conversations, direct conversations with people, even if they're on the basis of disagreement. They can always be done in a friendly manner or polite manner. And so I have lots of friends across the political spectrum who I really count as friends, some of whom I've known since the bad old days of student politics at university, who have totally different perspectives from me on almost every political issue, but yet we found a way to have great personal relationships and build trust over time. And some of those people I would trust with almost anything, even if I know that I disagree with them on a whole lot of policy issues. So I think my go-to, this is not necessarily the best way, you're the expert, but my go-to is usually to try and strike up a conversation with someone, preferably one-on-one, and try to build a relationship of genuine interest in that person's life. And I have the benefit, I suppose, the blessing, in that I actually am genuinely interested in people's lives, because that just comes naturally to me. And I love to find out about what their background is, where they come from, their what's happening in their life, what they're excited about. And that is a great basis on which to build relationship.
It's been said that if we can influence the future of a city, we can influence the future of humanity. With that excitement comes a great degree of complexity. And with that comes a great degree of challenge, intellectual challenge, psychological challenge, physical challenge. When it comes to that thing called leadership, resilience is so important, right? When you think of yourself and the inevitable challenges ahead, what will you look to for your renewed sense of resilience going forward?
This is really important to me, because I would never have, I would have been crushed by criticism if I didn't have this internal resilience already. And for me, I actually can identify really well where that comes from. It comes from, and this is weird for a politician to say, but hear me out, not giving too much credence to what the world's opinion of me is. Deriving my sense of self-worth and meaning from a much smaller group of people who genuinely care for me and whose opinions I trust. And even, that doesn't mean they're not critical, but their criticism is from a place of care and for wanting the best, and who I can count on to share in my celebrations when there are victories, and who I can count on to share in my commiserations when there are defeats, and to do so genuinely. And I think if you get caught up in the views of, the ephemeral views of media or commentariat, or social media in particular, where there is such a bubble of, or an environment of absolute toxicity, then you will very quickly have your own self-worth and your sense of mission ground down to nothing. And so I have what I think, I hope that this stands me in good stead. I have a healthy understanding of, and a kind of healthy level of derision, frankly, for the social media bubble and the kind of toxic commentary that is meted out there, by people who sometimes I think would never say those things if they ever saw you in real life. They, you know, people are much more polite and friendly than that, but yet behind the keyboard, they really, the worst of us sometimes comes out. So yeah, I think that's really where my internal resilience comes from. That's not to say that it's impenetrable. Of course, sometimes there are slings and arrows that do get through that, but by and large, I you know, I have a firm foundation from my family, a really great group of friends who are not involved in politics. We've been friends for 20 years and longer, from some of them from childhood even, and great support structures far removed from media and social media and politics. And that is a wonderful support structure to have.
How do you know who to trust?
I have been accused in the past, and I'm probably guilty as charged, of trusting everyone far too quickly. I think this relates to my personality as well, as a just a, you know, a people's person. Maybe there's some kind of psychological explanation for this as an extrovert or whatever the case may be. But I'm very trusting of people. And generally I give people a lot of benefit of the doubt until they really prove otherwise. And so I genuinely believe in the fundamental goodness of almost every person. And even when people do something bad or wrong or to break trust, usually they do so not just to be malicious, but because they feel threatened, or there's you know, there's some fundamental insecurity on their part that is getting in the way of their usual goodness. So I really do believe that. I believe that very deeply. So sometimes it just means that the scale of your disappointment is deeper when people don't live up to that, but that's fine. I'm prepared to take that on the chin if it means that in general, I like to think of people as decent, good people who want the best for themselves and for their families and for the world, really, and should be trusted until they prove that they you know, fundamentally cannot be.
What do you think the top 3 challenges will be that you will be confronted with if there isn't trust in the room?
The top 3 challenges. Look, it makes a working relationship really difficult because you don't accept that what someone is telling you is truthful, or that there isn't some ulterior motive or agenda behind it. So I think that's the first challenge. You can't accept people's bona fides anymore, and you have to start questioning what the other agenda is behind everything. Second, for teamwork, it really does break down teamwork, because you stop giving people the benefit of the doubt or believing that they are doing their best for the team, and you start to do, you know, that's when backbiting and rumor mongering starts to come in, and that really breaks down teamwork and creates an environment of toxicity. And I would think the third challenge, it probably just clouds your ability to focus on outcomes. If you have a team working positively and trusting one another, you can really focus all of your time and attention and efforts on what are the big outcomes that we want to achieve. And so you start to have all of your time absorbed with dealing with conflict and trying to clear the air, instead of just focusing on what we're trying to get done together, which is hopefully some improvement out there in the real world. So I think those are probably the top 3 challenges.
What are the top 3 opportunities or the top 3 benefits that you think Cape Town, the city, will enjoy if we have a high trust society?
Man, the benefits are just immense. If we can stop assuming the worst and assume the best in people, then I think that opens the way to much more honest conversations about our future and about our challenges, actually, without assuming there's some kind of ulterior motive or some kind of narrative drenched in South Africa's history. You can have much more productive conversations about the future in an environment of trust. And really, that's what I would love to try to do in Cape Town, is to have much more productive and imaginative and visionary conversations about our future. But that does require a certain baseline of trust. Secondly, I think the converse of what I said earlier, I think it means you can actually get a team to focus on outcomes. What is it that we are trying to achieve, and not be distracted constantly by the internal machinations that come with low trust. Third, I do think that a high trust environment leads to people being happier and more fulfilled in their work, because they don't feel on the defensive all the time. They don't feel under attack or threatened or vulnerable. They feel secure that that their contribution to the team is valued, that they are respected as innovators in their own way, each in their own unique way, and that they have a place here at this table and in this team, and that their voice matters. All of that stuff is undermined if they feel that there's no trust.
Given the trust you've been able to build with your enemies, who is the most surprising friend that you have?
That's a great question. From Varsity, there are a whole lot of activists on the organized left of the spectrum, the political spectrum, who have gone on after Varsity to become prominent figures in the organized left, who remain among my list of very favorite people in the world. They are good, decent, honest people of absolute integrity, who are serious, policy-minded people, genuinely committed to improving social outcomes. And although we disagree vociferously on policy and have wonderful arguments, I would trust them with anything. I would trust them with my life, because they are just good people. And I think in particular of someone, he probably will curse me for saying so, but someone like Ron Isaacs, who used to be the head of equal education in South Africa, is a great friend of mine, and near the top of my list of favorite South Africans. So is someone like Zaki Ahmad, obviously not a contemporary of mine at university, much older than me, but a real champion. So those kind of people, I don't mind what your political views are. I really don't mind. What I'm interested in is, do you hold those views seriously? Are you committed to building South Africa rather than breaking it? And are you, do you have integrity in your life? And if you have those things, then you're a friend of mine, and I engage you on that basis only.
Jordan, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And all the very best. And I look forward to speaking to you, if you would have me in the next year or two, to catch up again and learn more about the work you and your team on all sides of the spectrum have been able to achieve. So thank you so very much.
Thank you, Dominic.